Ms. Enders has the district director of finance and operations is going to present the general fund budget during a public hearing as required by the state of Michigan. This presentation ensures transparency and provides an opportunity for input. Following the hearing, the Board of Education will formally adopt the budget as part of tonight's agenda. Gail?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming tonight. We're going to start off with our official meeting for the 25-26 school year. This year is looking like one of the old years, pre-COVID. We don't have all the grant money that we used to, which is a good thing and a bad thing. We also do not have a concrete set of numbers from the state on a final budget. We've seen numbers from the governor, numbers from the House, and numbers from the Senate, and they all have a very wide range of how they are going to land, but nothing final. So a lot of next year's budget, Dr. Such and I have sat down and did our best guesstimates. So hopefully we'll come back right after the beginning of the school year when we've got student counts and have a better idea of where we stand. Unfortunately, the state has a deadline, just like we do, but they don't have to adhere to it like we do. So tonight, we're going to listen to some of the highlights for this budget and this pre-meeting, and then when we get to it in the regular agenda, you'll go ahead and vote on it. So according to the State Revenue Estimating Conference that was held earlier this year, the state aid fund is predicted to increase by 2.1%, which sounds good, but the general fund is also expected to have a decrease. That's at the state level. So when the general fund has a decrease, that means they turn to the school aid budget to cover some of their other areas that they're short on, such as monies to universities or non-public education, and even they could take some for the roads that our governor has been wanting to fix for some time now. When we look at the revenues, as I said, we don't know the foundation, the state aid foundation yet. The dollar amounts all show an increase, but they range from $10,000 per student to $10,025 per student, which is an increase from where we are now of about between $392 to $417. Dr. Such and I have decided to go with the lower to be conservative. So we will go with a foundation of allowance of $10,000 per student for this budget. When we looked at our blended membership, FTE for students, for student count, we ended 24-25 with 2,523 FTE for just general ed students. Being conservative on this because we never know our FTE until we actually have our student count in October, we have decided to assume a 23 student loss, making our student count 2,500 students. The local revenue, which is part of the property taxes that we get assessed on non-homestead for the district, I have estimated those to go up their normal 3%, which is standard across the board for counties and municipalities in Michigan. I have also forecasted the state revenues to be about $27 million, and that is a decrease due to the, well, it's a decrease due to the number of students, but we are, like I said, predicting an increase of $10,000 per student. In the federal revenues area, we see a drastic drop because, like I started out with, we don't have COVID funding, and we don't know what federal funds are going to do. So as of right now, we are just cutting all of the funding, not totally, but quite a bit, just until we know where we're at. And then in the final portion of the income are transfers from other schools, and a lot of that is from the ISD. We got money from intermediate school for Medicaid funding, and also they receive grants that they flow through to us, such as the HRA grant, which funds some of our our school nurse. On the expenditures, I'm expecting that a lot of the areas to increase due to contractual raises, which we signed contracts with all bargaining groups last year, so they all had in their pay matrix an increase, which then again increases benefits as well. We've also, another area that is pretty high in our budget is the students that we offer them to go out of district for classes such as the Elkhart Career Center, dual enrollment, SMC, and IU classes that are offered, and those costs have exceeded over $650,000 in the last couple of years. So I actually have that budgeted at $700,000 just to be on the safe side. We've also in this budget decided to budget for curriculum at $400,000. That curriculum will depend on what the curriculum group decides that they want to go with. On the operations line, we're looking at an increase due to the 3% cost of utilities. And in transportation, we're looking at a significant decrease because we're not planning on buying a school bus next year. We're also hoping that fuel prices come down some, which is another unknown. The large capital expenditures this year, we need to finish the fiber project that was started last year with some network switches, some access points for the athletic fields, and the church to bring that up to standards with the rest of our internet services, and stay on our regular Chromebook replacement schedule. So in my estimate, we're going to end up with revenues of $31,618,276. Total expenditures and transfers of $33,933,058, which gives us a excess expenses over revenue of $2,314,782, leaving our fund balance at 18%. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. All right, we'll now officially begin the board meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right. Moving on to the approving the agenda. I don't have any additions or corrections. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Do we have support?
Support.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Moving on to the consent agenda. We've got the board minutes. Do we have the closed ones? Okay. We have the board meetings from May 19th board meeting, the June 10th special board meeting, as well as the June 10th closed session. We also have the payment of invoices. Neola second reading and adoption of Neola policies, volume 39, number 2, 0131.1 revised, bylaws and policies, 5320 revised, immunization, 5330 revised, use of medications, 5330.01 revised, epinephrine autoinjectors, 5350 revised, student health, well-being, and suicide prevention, 5460 revised, graduation requirements, 8320 revised, personnel files, 8510 revised, wellness, and 8640 rescind, transportation for field and other district-sponsored trips. So we have the closed session. You should all have those. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay. Are there any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Everybody pass the closed session meeting, please. Great. Okay, now we're going to move on to highlights, the strategic plan review. I think that's going to be Ms. Braxmore, right?
Ms. Braxma, Ms. Enders, and Mrs. Spalding.
Okay,
You're gonna
you
need
guys are going to present a year-end update on the progression of goals outlined in the strategic.
Can you turn on the screen? Do you need a computer with it? Yeah. Okay. All three of you want to come up since it's a pretty quick update. There we go. Okay, there you go.
Good evening. I'm going to update everyone on focus area number 1, teaching, learning, and programming. We, in the area of goal number 1, things that we have accomplished this year are creating a robust mentoring program. We created a handbook off of staff and committee feedback to follow, and so that was really exciting to work with the team. It's ready to roll out for the in its full capacity next fall, or this coming fall, I guess I should say. And then we also had partnered together. I should read what that goal number 1 is. Sorry, it's recruit, retain, diverse, and strong employee workforce to provide exceptional learning environment. So that's goal 1. So we partnered with Talent Together. We have a number of staff members who are participating in Talent Together, which is a grow your own program for certified staff to become certified in the teaching area. And then we've also partnershiped with Culver's to recognize support staff. Every month, Culver's comes in and we recognize one of our support staff members. So that's been really nice. Goal number 2 is continue to improve student proficiency across all subjects through evidence-based instruction supported by professional development. In this area, we're continuing to offer high-quality PDs such as Orton Gillingham, iReady, Amplify, Haggerty, 5-Star. And then we're also using those late starts for intentional supports through vertical and horizontal alignment on those late start Wednesdays. And then goal number 3 is to review and update curriculum through a curriculum review process and to advance educational opportunities. So we're looking at before and after school type extracurricular activities too, not just things that are happening during the school day. So we've done some preliminary investigation and legwork into esports and how to create an esports team for the district. So we're working on getting a team created within the next year or so. And then campfire before and after care is at the intermediate. We're working on our social studies curriculum review cycle this year, and hopefully finishing that up and moving on to the next curriculum review cycle. And then we've also implemented the Young Fives program, which has been very successful. So, thank you. Any questions?
And Katie is kind of pinch hitting for Mr.
Mr.
Bourne,
Bourne,
who is the
yes.
chair of that focus area, but he is out of the country at the moment, so.
Thanks, Katie.
Then I'm going to jump into community and connection. So our first goal was to utilize multiple forms of communication to continue to strengthen trust with families in the community. So the first thing that we are going to roll out on July 1, so we are just weeks away, the drum's going to roll. We have a new website powered by Aptogee. It is going to be more user-friendly. We've seen some sneak peeks of it. Jared and Angie have been working really hard on that. We will also have a new communication app for one-way and two-way communication between the district and families, and that'll come in the fall of 2025. We have a draft communication plan that I've been working on building. And then Dr. Such and I have been working with Dojo Creative on creating a consistent brand book. And what a brand book is it tells you everything that Edwardsburg is when it comes to, Eddie is always Eddie, and Eddie is never going to change. But if you look around, we have this EPS logo, we have the EPS logo with the ombre, we have the block E, we have other E's. I sent out a survey to the board and to the administrative team and said, what's our catchphrase? And it was things like a tradition of educational excellence, pride, purpose, passion, once an Eddie, always an Eddie, proud to be an Eddie. There were like 15 different things. We shouldn't have 15 different catchphrases. It should be one catchphrase. So we're streamlining all of those into the Eddie brand book. And so that is in development right now. So more to come with that. Goal number 2 is we will strengthen and expand school community connections and relationships that are key to the success of the school district and community. So we tried introducing parent universities this year. Attendance was low, so we're looking at different ways to remarket that and roll that out again in the coming year. Again, we have another communication app that will be rolled out in the fall. And we're going to continue with parent advisory committees K-12. The K-5 PAC experimented this year with offering virtual options. And we had 2 to 3 parents each time that took the option of logging in virtually. So that's 2 to 3 more parents that participated with us. And rather than us driving the agenda, which had been past practice, we sent out surveys beforehand and asked the parents to drive the agenda. And so we could really meet the needs of those parents. And so what questions do you have?
I think the only question I have is about the Dojo Creative. Are we gonna get like, kind of as we go along here, kind of what the plan is before we get to the end?
And actually, Dr. Such and I should have a meeting coming up fairly soon. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna create us, not taking away anything from Eddie. Eddie's more of like our sports logo, but they're gonna help develop us, like IU has their one specific logo that's IU. Notre Dame has the ND, that's Notre Dame. They're gonna come up with one that represents us, but that's gonna come from 10 possibilities and narrow it down to just one. And so you will be invited to that meeting to help us drag it down, narrow it down to one. And we'll invite different people from the board, a couple other people from the admin team. And so we're gonna work together to bring that down into one logo that we can all agree represents Edwardsburg.
Okay.
And now here's the fun thing. If you want to pull out your phone, if you have it, audience members can do it too. If you are Android, go to your Google Store. Is that what it's called? I'm an iPhone person, so go to your App Store. If you type in Edwardsburg in your App Store, the new app for Edwardsburg is there. It is live, and you can download the app. We will have training on it in the fall, but it is there. You can play with it. It's intuitive, but it is going to grow. But so when you're sitting on the beach this summer and you have nothing to do, you can think about focus area number 2 and play on the new Edwardsburg app that is specifically designed for Google or iPhones. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of leading Funding Group 3, Facilities and Funding. So in our group, we met and talked about different things that we can do in the district, different things such as what we need, what our students are looking forward to. We had a lot of talk on fixing things. most of the first area, the renovation of the vestibules, the office buildings, the parking lot loop, and the church upgrades for the boiler, those we're working on this summer in as part of the bond. And I want to thank everybody, all the district residents for voting to approve that bond, because without that, this could have never come to fruition. We also talked about doing competitive bidding and being good stewards with the funds that we were given, not only with our bond funds, but also with our state aid and all the money that we do get to look at competitive bids, and not always going with the lowest bid, but the one who is going to serve the district the best. We talked about partnering with different businesses and organizations. We discussed partnering with the garden club and having them take care of the flower pots, the flower planters within the district. We also discussed, we've been working with myself and Mr. Pabuta and Mrs. Neff have been working to put a new building scheduler in so that we can perhaps do more rentals to increase some revenue for the district. That would allow organizations to come in and say use the PAC or other facilities that we might have, and it would give all of us a chance to know what's going on, principals included in each building at a certain time without having to go to different calendars. It also integrates with our custodial software that we do use, so custodians would know how to set something up. Say if somebody wanted to rent the cafetorium and they wanted seating, so they would put in a seating chart. And right now it's only going to be open to district staff, but in the future we look to have it open to anybody who would want to rent a room. We also talked about different funding methods that we can use in the future, like future passing bonds for more upgrades in the district, or sinking funds that wouldn't give us the money right away, but we could build on it and we wouldn't have to use it right away either. Perhaps looking at donors. There's a lot of people that would love to donate different things to the school, and reaching out to them and seeing what can be offered to them for their donations. Also, different opportunities. A lot of our grants right now come from MDE, but we also discussed grants for like soccer lighting that could come from the lighting companies. And actually, we also learned that the road commission, the Cass County Road Commission, offers to do paving for nonprofit organizations. So we might look at them the next time they have a paving project and free up some of our cash that we can then spend on. So that's what we looked for, we worked on, and I'm looking forward to getting started again in the fall. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks for the presentation. Now we're going to move on to athletics. Mr. Pabuta. Courtney, I think we're supposed to.
I have the honor of getting to recognize a few of our student athletes. Before that, I need to apologize. I'm fighting a cold, and so if I didn't come up and introduce myself to you or talk to you, I don't want to spread germs. So that's the whole reason behind that. So, but we had a very successful track season, and we had 3 of our athletes earn All-State. And Sarah Pippin is not here. She is an outstanding volleyball player, but she's also an outstanding high jumper, and she finished in 3rd place with a jump of 5.5. She holds our school record at 5.7. Right? So she's capable of jumping higher, and finishing 3rd place is a great feat for sure. Next, I want to recognize Mobius Stubblefield. So Mobius, you want to come up? Mobius is one of our outstanding student athletes. He is what Edwardsburg's all about. This kid works hard in the classroom. He works hard in athletics. He works hard at everything he does. He's a leader. He's just a great kid. You go to any event, he's there. He has so much pride in this district, and being an Eddie, and we couldn't be more proud of Mobius. And Mobius finished in 7th place and ran a 50.25. To put that in reference, I went out the other day and tried to run 1 lap, and it took me 1 minute and 40 seconds. So he flies around there. And also, that 7th place is all those kids are, they're finishing literally within a second of each other. So that finish line's packed, and I know he did that on a sore leg, and he's coming back next year. So he still has a chance to improve, and I know he will. So Mobius, great job. Next, I want to bring up Zach Overmeyer. Zach might be fighting off a little jet lag. He's getting to us today. Yesterday he competed in Oregon at a national track meet where he finished in 12th place. But he's being recognized today as state champion. Right, he finished 1st place with a jump of 6.8, and this kid has put in so much time, so much work. He's a great student, great athlete. Again, another kid, what this district's all about. All right, he represents Edwardsburg with great pride, and we're proud of him. And he continues to excel, and he's only a junior as well, and he's just going to continue to grow. He puts in the time, he puts in the work. Again, he's traveling. He was in Oregon, and then he's here today. But to be a state champion, it's unbelievable, and he did it. So, Zach, congratulations, 6'8". Great job.
All right. Obviously, I'm extremely proud of both of them, one of them being my son, so even a little bit more excited to see him come up. That was quite the thrill for me, so thanks for all the work both of you guys have done. And I echo John's comments about Mobius being just an – so for those of you that don't understand, Mobius actually missed regionals this year because he was at a leadership forum. So he put the right things in place first. And – I can't say enough about that because a lot of people would not have done that. So a lot of credit to you, Mobius. Great job.
Good job.
So anyway, you guys are free to leave now. Go enjoy the rest of your summer. And we'll see you guys in the fall. Well, I'll see before that. But. All right. Now for the really exciting stuff. We get to move on to items of business and the resolution for our 24-25 budget amendments. So there's going to be a resolution for each budget area. As Gail completes each review, Tammy will read the resolution and we'll get support and conduct roll call vote. So we start with the resolution for the 24-25 budget amendment general fund.
Thank you for my exciting opening to this wonderful news. I know it's not as exciting as high jumping or long jumping or running or whatever, but we still have to do it. So, although this is the end of our 24-25 school year, and we think things have come to an end, we still have some estimates in this budget. We have to estimate for some utility costs and some projects that we have started and are not completely finished. Although we know about how much we should land with any project, there's always something that comes up. We also end up getting some last minute revenues that we didn't know about or were unsure if we would get them in time. So sometimes we are blessed with some of those items afterwards. So this year, like I said earlier, is the end of our COVID funds, where the next fiscal year that we talked about at the pre-meeting was without COVID funds. We used the end of our 11T, our ESSER 11T monies to support summer school last year. This year, we're going to use the last of our 23G, My Kids Back on Track, to support summer school for this year. And that is all out of COVID dollars that were set aside for us. For the 24-25 year, we also received the 31AA grant again. It's a mental health and safety grant that has been given to us by the state of Michigan. These funds were used last year to cover our new high school, middle school counselor that we were able to put in place. And from my understanding, it's working out quite well. And hopefully these funds will continue. And then we can keep her without struggle. Also, we put in the new fob installations on all the doors. So you could key card into all the doors now instead of using the little bitty fob. These are a lot easier because not only do you have to wear your badge, but it gets you in. People know who you are, and they can be turned off much quicker and easier for staff that maybe have quit and we don't want to allow them access to the buildings. Got rid of a lot of keys. We rekeyed a lot of doors, and only certain people have keys now, so it's made our buildings much safer. And it's also freed up some bond funds, being able to use this grant money to cover those. On the expense side, we have seen some increases and some decreases. In January of this year, districts were told that we would have money flowing through us for a refund that staff gets based on what retirement system they're in. So staff that contribute to the 3% health care as part of their retirement were given that money back as of October 1st of 2024. So we had the honor of flowing that through us, which meant higher revenues and higher expenses. Even though it wasn't something we ought to keep, we still have to show it. This year we were able to extend two special ed aides full-time positions. So that was pretty nice for them, for us, and them to be able to say, hey, we need some more funding, or we need some more special ed help. We would like to, offer people full-time. A lot of times people will leave us because we can't give them full-time. So any full-time opportunities we can grant to people is always a benefit, and we get to keep valued people that we really need. We did see a decrease in some of our instructional staff because there was a couple positions that we were not able to find teachers for. So those were filled with long-term subs, and that, because of all the benefits that we do have to pay, was able to save some money and increase our fund balance. So overall, in summary, our revenues, I'm predicting that they're going to end up at $31,256,326. Our expenses, $32,880,093, which gives us expenses over revenue of $1,623,767, and leaves us at a fund balance of 25.75%. So if we could get approval on this, we can move forward.
I think again, Tammy, can you please read the resolution?
I got it.
Oh,
I get it.
all right.
Short straw. Okay. The school's general fund for the fiscal year 2025 is amended as follows. Be it resolved that the general appropriation for the Edwardsburg Public Schools general fund for the fiscal year 2025 is amended as follows. Total revenue, $31,256,326. Totals expenditures, $32,595,207. The estimated fund balance on June 30, 2025 of $8,393,322. This resolution shall take immediate effect. Do I go to the next one for food?
Do you wanna
We have to have a
approve
support on that.
separately?
Okay.
We have support on that?
Support.
Okay. Is this a roll call? Okay, so roll call vote. Tammy?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Anna?
Yes.
Chelsea? Nick?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Moving on to school lunch, special revenue fund. Yeah.
So this year, a lot of our revenue came in part from free meals. So as you guys may be aware, that the federal and the state government both had money set aside for free meals. We were also able to become classified a CEP school, which means community eligibility provision. And with that, if we weren't already granted the free meals, because we were able to qualify as a CEP school, we would have still been able to provide free meals for kids. The way that you become a CEP school is by the home surveys that are sent out each year with the back to school packets. A lot of parents don't send those back, and it's extremely important that we do receive those back in order to be able to do this again. And right now it's looking like we're not going to have the free meals for next year. So we do have the opportunity, like I say, to become a CEP school if we can get every parent in the district to send back those home surveys. Not only is it important for the free meals, but we also, some of our funding is determined by how many children that we have on the free and reduced schedules. It affects our title money, it affects our at-risk money. And like I say, it allows us to provide free meals for students. On the expense side, we didn't expect much change from what we saw in June. We had projected wages and benefits to increase due to the standard contract that we had with them. We also saw increase in contracted services due to mechanical failures of outdated equipment. And we did remove some of that outdated equipment and purchase new equipment, like reach-in freezers, and nothing like the new lines that we did in the high school and middle school, just kind of boring things like the new oven and, the freezers. So I am predicting that we will end the fiscal year with a fund balance of $277,760 for 24-25.
Okay, thank you, Gail. Justin?
Yes, okay. Be it resolved that the general appropriation for the Edwardsburg Public Schools Special Revenue Food Service Fund for the fiscal year 2025 is amended as follows. Total revenues, $1,407,583. Total expenditures, $1,726,600, with an estimated fund balance on June 30, 2025 of $277,781. This resolution shall take immediate effect.
Support.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Nick?
Yes.
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Justin?
Yes.
And Tammy?
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving on to Special Revenue Fund Student Activity. Gail? Bookstore?
The student activity funds are funds that are raised by classes or groups, such as the class of 2025. They raise money for their class. The robotics group, they raise money outside of what they do get in a grant for general fund. We also have principal revolving accounts and athletic accounts that each team has. These funds are raised by student groups and are spent on what the student groups would like, although they still have to follow the rules of the general fund expenses. All the expenses must run through the business office. So with that,
Okay. Be it resolved that the general appropriation for the Edwardsburg Public Schools Special Revenue Student Activities Fund for the fiscal year 2025 is amended as follows. Total revenues, $398,000. Total expenditures, $327,000. The estimated fund balance on June 30, 2025 is $279,338. This resolution shall take immediate effect.
Support.
Okay, roll call. Natalie?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Justin?
Yes.
Tammy?
yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yes.
All right, that one passes. All right, moving on to resolutions for the 25-26 budget adoptions. It's my recommendation that the Board of Education formally adopts the fiscal budget as presented. Director of Finance and Operation Gail will review the enclosed highlight sheet.
Really don't have much more to say about this one since we ran over it at the beginning
Yeah.
of the meeting. So you want to just go ahead and read the
Oh
resolution?
boy, this is the fun ones. All right, bear with me. Be it resolved that the resolution shall be the General Appropriations Act of Edwardsburg Public Schools for the fiscal year 2026, an act to make appropriations to provide for all the expenditures of the appropriation and to provide for the disposition of all income received by Edwardsburg Public Schools. The income includes the levy of 18 mills on non-homestead ad valorem property taxes for operating purposes. Be it further resolved that the total revenue and unappropriated funds balance estimated to be available for the appropriation in the general fund of Edwardsburg Public Schools for the fiscal year 2025-2026 is as follow. Total revenue, $31,618,276. Total expenditures, $33,933,057. Estimating ending fund balance July 1st, 2026 of $6,058,541. Be it further resolved that no Board of Education member or employee of the school district shall expend any funds or obligate the expenditure of any funds except pursuant to the appropriations made by the Board of Education and in keeping with the budgetary policy statement. Oh, goodness. What is that? Hitherto adopted by the board. Changes in the amount appropriated by the board shall require approval by the board. Be it further resolved that the superintendent of schools is hereby charged with the general supervision of the execution of the board adopted by the board and shall hold the department heads responsible for performance of their responsibilities with the amounts appropriated by the Board of Education and in keeping with the budgetary policy statement hitherto adopted by the board. This appropriation resolution shall take effect July 1st, 2025.
Support.
Is that Nick,
Yes.
Chelsea,
Yes.
Natalie,
Yes.
myself, yes,
Yes.
and Tammy?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Moving on to more fun, the 2025-26 Special Revenue Fund School Lunch.
Okay. Be it resolved. Oh, is there nothing on this either?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay.
You take a break.
Okay.
Just
Good.
excited.
Good.
Hard to hold him back.
So for the 25-26 school year, the food service budget, I am budgeting much less in revenues because, as I said before, we don't know if we're going to get free and reduced. And we have seen in the past that when we don't have free and reduced, although we still have a lot of students that eat with us, we don't have as many. So I'm sure the food service department will be working to entice students to eat with us because that's what we're here for. So once again, as I said, we could apply to be a CEP school, but we would have to get those home surveys turned in before school starts or shortly after so that we could get kids identified for that qualify, and then the district could qualify for a CEP school and become free for everyone. We increased wages due to the contract agreement that we have with them, which in turn, again, increased benefits. I'm expecting a slight decrease in the contracted services due to the new equipment that we put into place this year, and I'm expecting a large decrease in supplies since, as I said, we don't see as many students eating as we do when we have free and reduced free meals for everyone. So, there you go, Justin.
Gail, I have a quick question for you. The CEP, is that something that we will be able to qualify for, knowing that like today's percentage, I think it's 27-ish% that qualify for free and reduced today. So when we submit that application, will we struggle to get approved for that?
We could. It depends on how many surveys we receive back and how many of those people on that survey actually qualify as poverty level so that their students, so that we can get that percentage up there. with the change last year, one of the reasons why we did qualify, not only from the home surveys that we did receive back, was the state changed the percentage that you had to hit. So if they changed that, they lowered it, because if we are a CEP district, then the federal government has to cover more. Where if we were not the CEP district, then the state would have to cover more. So obviously the state lowered their percentages to make us CEP so that the federal government would pay more of our money back. But getting those back is very important. It's something that we have to apply for every year. We have to send in, there's a form that Jody and I work on together to submit how many students qualify and how many they don't, and our total, and then they get that percentage. But 24 is a good number, so if we could stay right around there, it would be good, as long as the state doesn't have to change their percentage again.
Does it make more sense to try to start to solicit those now, as opposed to waiting until close to like school start time, where everybody's so busy trying to get their kids back?
Well, a lot of times we wait closer to school, because then parents are kind of in the mood to get working on the other paperwork that needs to be filled out. And with it becoming summertime, a lot of the offices will be closed. So parents usually like to drop them off at the school
Oh, okay.
where their students attend, and it's kind of easier if you just have it in one big packet too.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Be it resolved that this resolution shall be the General Appropriations Act of Edwardsburg Public Schools for the fiscal year 2026, an act to make appropriations to provide for all the expenditures of the appropriation and to provide for the disposition of all income received by Edwardsburg Public Schools. Be it further resolved that the total revenues and unappropriated fund balance estimated to be available for appropriation in the Special Revenue Food Service Fund of Edwardsburg Public Schools for the fiscal year 2025-2026 is presented below. Total revenues, $1,384,850. Total expenditures, $1,726,600. Estimated ending fund balance June 30, 2026 of $509,172. Be it further resolved that no Board of Education member or employee of the school district shall expend any funds or obligate the expenditures of any funds except pursuant to the appropriations made by the Board of Education and in keeping with the budgetary policy statement hitherto adopted by the Board. Changes in the amount appropriated by the Board shall require approval by the Board. Be it further resolved that the superintendent of the schools is hereby charged with the general supervision of the execution of the budget adopted by the Board and shall hold the department heads responsible for performance of their responsibilities with the amounts appropriated by the Board of Education and in keeping with the budgetary policy statement hitherto adopted by the Board. The appropriation resolution shall take effect July 1st, 2025.
Support.
Nick?
Yes.
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 I'm a yes.
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 Okay, that passes. One more time. Student activity.
Last one, student activities for the 25-26. This one is a little harder to determine what revenue is going to be, because, as I said before, these are funds that are raised by students and student groups. So I am increasing them a little bit just because every year they seem to grow just a little bit more. So looking at that trend, I've increased them accordingly. And usually they try to spend what they have in their funds, so revenues and this one will equal expenses.
Be it resolved that the resolution shall be the General Appropriations Act of Edwardsburg Public Schools for the fiscal year 2026, an act to make appropriations to provide for all the expenditures of the appropriation and to provide for the disposition of all income received by Edwardsburg Public Schools. Be it further resolved that the total revenue and unappropriated fund balance estimated to be available for appropriation in the Special Revenue Student Activity Fund of the Edwardsburg Public Schools for the fiscal year 2026. Total revenue $398,000. Total expenditures, $327,000. Estimating ending fund balance, June 30, 2026, of $288,425. Be it further resolved that no Board of Education member or employee of the school district shall expend any funds or obligate the expenditure of any funds except pursuant for the appropriations made by the Board of Education and in keeping with the budgetary policy statement hitherto adopted by the board. Changes in the amount appropriated by the board shall require approval by the board. Be it further resolved that the superintendent of the schools is hereby charged with the general supervision of the execution of the budget adopted by the board and shall hold the department heads responsible for performance of their responsibilities with the amounts appropriated by the Board of Education in keeping with the budgetary policy statement hitherto adopted by the board. The appropriation resolution shall take effect July 1st, 2025.
Support.
Tammy?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
And Sophie, yes. Natalie?
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yes.
And Nick?
Yes.
All right, that passes. I hope you didn't go too far, Gail. As we move on now to the adoption of publicly funded health insurance Public Act 152 resolution.
Right, so every year we have to vote to keep Public Act 152 enacted. This started way back in 2011, and every year boards and public agencies have to decide whether they will offer their employees a choice of paying 20% while the district pays 80% for health care, or you could go with a state cap, which means that the district will only pay a certain amount, which changes every year. Based on the current contract, I'm recommending that we continue to utilize the 80-20 formula because that is what is written in the contract. I suggest when we go back to negotiations, maybe we look at it again, see what healthcare costs are and what the cap is at, and perhaps negotiate into that next contract.
Okay, this
All
one's
right,
me.
Tammy.
All right. Whereas the publicly funded Health Insurance Public Act 152, PA 152, was signed into law on September 24th, 2011. Whereas the Board of Education of Edwardsburg Public Schools desires to elect the option under Section 4 of PA 152, whereby the school district will pay no more than 80% of the total annual cost of the medical benefits plans it offers to its employees. Whereas Section 5 of PA 152 states that the requirements of the Section 4 of the Act do not apply to any group of employees until the contract expires. Now, therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to Section 4 of PA 152, the board elects the option of the school district paying no more than 80% of the total annual cost of all medical plans it offers to its employees for the 2025 and 2026 school year.
Do you have support?
Support.
Okay, any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none. Justin?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yes.
Natalie?
Yes.
Myself, yes. That passes. And now moving on to the approval of the food service management contract renewal.
My last one. So last year, you probably remember, we signed a 3-year contract with Chartwells. But every year, the state of Michigan requires us to do a renewal of that contract, even though the contract is in effect. If we had issues, we could say, no, we don't want to renew, and then we'd have to go out for the bidding process again. MDE has approved the contract renewal already, but the board still has to approve the actual renewal based on the cost of the contract. As of the 25-26 school year, the management fees will increase by 0.0406 cents a meal, which is 3%, which is what we agreed on in the original contract. And MDE has approved that we can move on with the contract at 3%. I've attached some other paperwork, and that is all the paperwork that will need to be signed after the meeting if you guys decide to renew the contract, which I highly recommend. I think Chartwells has been great. I think Jody has been great the past year and couple months that she's been here. It's been wonderful having her here. So I highly recommend that we go ahead and renew this for the 25-26 school year.
Okay, do we have a motion to renew the Chartwell's contract as presented?
So moved.
Support. Okay, this is also a roll call vote, so we'll start with Natalie.
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Myself, yes, that passes. Okay, moving on, Carrie. Adoption of the 25-26 handbook revisions.
Boy, Gail, that was a lot of fun. Thanks. I'm going to go ahead and apologize ahead of time because I'm feeling a kindred spirit to the high jumpers because Jared has a whole foot of wire back here in front of the podium that we're all high jumping over today. So if I fall and break my neck, that would be why. So it is handbook season. It's time to start thinking about next school year already, which I don't know what happened along the way, but we are here already. I'm going to give you a quick summary this evening in regards to our student handbooks for the 25-26 school year, and we can have some discussion to answer any questions you may have after I do so. So, on May 13th, 2025, Edwardsburg administration met with the Board of Education Policy Subcommittee. In attendance were the board members, Tammy Niemeyer, Tony Overmeyer, Chelsea Wilson, and the EPS administration. Prior to that meeting, it is customary that we as an admin team get together and run through all of our proposals with each other first before we even come to the board subcommittee so that we can talk them all through and make sure that we're okay with what's moving forward to be suggested. Each administrator presented their proposed changes to their student handbooks for the 25-26 school year at that time. Suggestions are discussed at length at our meeting, and based on board policies and policy subcommittee recommendations, policies are then all sent on and brought on to you. So accompanying the board packet release was a link of the proposed student handbook changes that were presented to the Board of Education Policy Subcommittee. Not all items make it through the subcommittee process, right? As we have those discussions, there are things that we go, yeah, that's not within board policy, or we don't think that's what's best for the district. So moving forward to you is the things that made it through. Each item was presented to the committee for review and discussion. Many of the revisions include clarifications of wording, defining items, and sometimes additions or eliminations of handbook items. Within the information you received, the proposed changes we want to bring to your attention are some of the following. At the district level across all buildings, in coordination and from the Edwardsburg Education Association and the administration teams, in addition to the Freedom to Publish section, the use of artificial intelligence which misappropriates individuals' persona and or defames their character will be prohibited and subject to consequences per the handbook. That's keeping with the times and our ever-changing world. An update across the district for lice within the handbook wording to be consistent with the wording from the CDC and board policy. Just some different things across the board. We just want to make sure that that is all reading the same. Title IX wording to be consistent across the district in reference to board policy, and coordinator contact information for both Katie Broxma and Andrew Jordan, and as well as to add the link to information for reference, easy reference within the student handbooks. Transportation across the district had one simple clarification that bus routes and estimated run times will be emailed before the beginning of the school year for students to the contacts listed in Power School. It's been a few years since we posted them on our website, and for safety reasons, we made that change, but we haven't updated our handbook yet, so that's to reflect that. Athletics had no changes at this time, and technology had no changes at this time, other than updating dates and school years. Elementaries, primary, Eagle Lake, and intermediate were kind of the trifecta and went together on a few suggestions. One addition was to add to the distracting items section to now include toys and smartwatches. Again, holding with the times, and when that was originally written, smartwatches weren't a thing. So, and it has become a little bit of an issue. A new addition, they would like to add in visitor expectations during lunch periods. We have always had expectations for our visitors during this time, but this helps map out for the elementary's expectations for visitors during that time for the safety and consideration of all. Still includes background checks for all and keeps us compliant with our visitor guidelines. Middle school, would like to encourage participation in their dances and feel that combining all three grade levels during that time instead of dividing them up will help with that. But for safety's sake, would like to add that anyone attending must enter the dance within the first 30 minutes so as to keep students accounted for at all times. Prior arrangements can be made with the school office for special circumstances. The Alternative Learning Center, a couple highlights from that one. Updates to include some wording changes, including current up-to-date staffing contacts, in addition to mirror the high school in terms of allowing students to also test out of content students may have already had exposure to at previous schools or in previous programs. The secondary brought forth the discussion, and this one was the one that probably brought the most discussion during this time, was at this current time, we do allow holes in pants. It was brought forth for discussion of not allowing holes in pants anymore. Holes are currently allowed, and they are wanting to move to no holes allowed. After much discussion, the attendees suggested to bring forward the ability to have holes below the knee only as an option. We think this is worthy of more discussion this evening, and we are happy to move forward with any suggestions from the board on this topic.
Right now.
Right now!
I wasn't sure if you were saying like at the
I'm-
end.
Go, Natalie.
Well, yeah. Go for it.
I just was gonna clarify, like, the knee included or just below the knee? That was my only question.
Uh-huh. So that's you are diving into kind of all the topics that we had around this, and those of you that were there, please feel free to speak up on this. I think the original intent behind the suggestion from the administration was they felt like it was very hard to police, and they felt like it was more of a expectation that they wanted to bring forward again. But with that being said, right, it's also going down the path of, do we want to dig back into having to say no holes again and things like that. So the compromise was holes below the knee was the compromise to move forward with for more discussion. Right.
I have to say, quite honestly, after giving it more thought and more thought, I would just be for going no holes, because holes below the knee is just silly.
I mean, that's where my pause comes from.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to envision a pair of pants that only has holes below the knee, and I'm struggling there.
Yeah, there are none.
Right. The flip side of that, and to kind of bring back part of the initial process that started some of our changes, is that it can also be challenging at times to find clothing that kids want to wear that is completely hole free. Having shopped for those, particularly teenagers and middle schoolers, and you know, the idea that if you have a even elementary age kid that maybe just has a wear and tear hole in their knee of their pant, that to me seems like maybe something that's a little bit overly restrictive.
Agreed. Justin, you were on the committee that revised the.
Oh, yeah.
He's having all flashbacks.
There's just so much that goes into it. And it's exactly that of what can you buy. Do I agree with it? No, but it's also just a teenager. So I'm like, you know what? I know that my nieces were so excited. They were like, I can actually wear my nice pants. I'm like, oh boy, that's different. So I'm still fine with holes because it's like, whatever. I mean, it's not something I want to die on.
To have a clear understanding of the concern, were there just a lot of really excessively holey pants, or I was not part of the committee, so I just want to make sure I understand.
So the concern was brought up because they were finding, yes, you're now taking it to the extreme where sometimes you have a hole from here all the way down, right, to the hem at the bottom.
Or on the bottom of the pants. On
Yeah.
the flip side. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's not anything. It was a recommendation that came forward. We can leave it the way it is. We can have this discussion and decide that it's something that you guys want to do.
The current policy is mid-thigh. Do I remember that correctly?
Yes. But they're having a problem when people would sit down, the mid-thigh would be much
Right.
further up than
Right.
mid-thigh.
And it's subjective, right? I mean, depending on how tall your child is, right? I mean, it's gonna be a lot harder to find pants that have holes mid-thigh if you have a child that's, as tall as Tony's, Tony's son, but I think that was the other thing, was just the subjectiveness of it and the scrutiny that the administrators get, because it seems like they're pointing out a single student or two or four or whatever, that they felt like just eliminating it altogether would minimize some of those concerns from parents. But I have seen, in all honesty, like when I do school drop off and everything, they've taken the dress code changes that we made and they've taken it to a whole new level, whether it be the shorts level, t-shirts are longer than the shorts. I mean, there's just a lot of them. We tried to loosen up a bit to, really allow the kids to have some freedom with their dress. And of course, we were going through a style where that was very, very popular, but then I also feel for the administrators and teachers who have to flag them. And then if one kid's not flagged until 6th or 7th hour, then they have parents that are upset and said, my kid went all day. Why are they flagged now? So I try to see it from both perspectives, I guess,
I will say, I think it's been a lot less since we've made the changes, though, because that used to be
Whole time thing.
a lot happened.
Agreed.
Right,
But I
frequently,
do feel like it's starting to ramp up again with the kids just pushing the envelope.
And I think that's probably the nature of a dress code with just about any kid with any district. I guess where I'm struggling is I'm trying to find the logic in making pants more restrictive than shorts. So I mean, if our policy on shorts is mid-thigh, then I'm real confused why you can't have a hole in your knee. Like, I understand the policing side of it, and I do want to acknowledge from the staff perspective that is hard, but from a logical standpoint, I don't understand making that.
I think that from what I was told in our meeting,
Yeah.
that jeans with holes in them fit a little differently than shorts. So when somebody sits down and they've got the big long hole that goes like here, and then they sit down, it doesn't, a lot more is exposed than if you had shorts on. That was the way it was described to me.
Would it make more sense to say nothing above the knee? And then you could have it in the knee.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think,
Yeah.
those kids that do get a hole in their knee, or that it's questionable, is there a hole there, isn't there? I mean, I don't wanna waste time with that
Yeah.
stuff, so, I mean,
Agreed.
so, would it, but from.
The knee
below-
doesn't seem real subjective to me. Like,
Yes.
The knee's
Yeah,
the knee.
the knee's pretty, so, would you be okay with making that change in there?
I will do it.
Okay,
Yep, we can do whatever we're willing to go on your recommendation.
all right.
I guess
Anything
to the administrators, how do you guys feel that'd be easy enough to police? I guess that would be the question. If it's the knee. Right, right. Yeah, sorry, I used wrong word there, Jim. Sorry about that, yeah.
If it's something egregious, then it's addressed by, the staff and administration and goes through that process with that. But, the knee is much, a faster identification of somebody that is not following dress code parameters versus the mid-thigh, where, as you said, it's very subjective on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you have anything else to present on?
No.
Okay, so I guess can we get a motion to accept the handbook with the change in, to above the knee?
I'm good with that. Support. Or I'll make a
Or I guess
motion.
from,
Sorry.
I guess no holes above the knee. Somebody, did you make a motion? on that?
Yeah.
Okay, do we have support?
Support.
Okay, this one, I believe I can just say, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, do we have any other questions or discussion? I think we
Yeah,
had
just
quite a bit
let
already.
them know. Yes, but
Okay?
Yep.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that one passes.
Can
Carrie, was there another dress code? It seemed like there was
There
no.
there was one we talked about that, but it was not recommended to bring it forward.
Okay.
Yep. because it was even worse than that one.
I think we do need to make sure this is well communicated to our families long before school shopping starts.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, moving on to the approval of the 2026 graduation date. Did you want to speak to this?
So after getting feedback from you on the board and from our administrative team, a number of parents, the one issue that one of the parents brought forward was the kind of timing of the elementaries getting out along with lining up outside. I can't help that it was cold outside that day for lining up, but so we are recommending not only to select Thursday, May 21st as the official graduation date, but we are also looking to amend the calendar to make that a half day for students. So then there wouldn't be the overlap of elementary pickup during that time, and then we could look at how we can make sure that the families who need accommodations, if they have any disabilities or whatnot, could then access the building more easily. So it'd still be a full day for staff. They would have a work day in the afternoon. That's also to encourage the staff participation. High school administration found that there was a lot of positive feedback from the staff who were then able to attend and participate in the graduation ceremony. So they were looking forward to coming back and doing that again, and we're recruiting others to also be present as well.
Great. Do we have a motion to approve the 2026 graduation date as May 21st, 2026?
So moved.
And also for the half day. So moved. Okay, any support?
Support.
Okay, any questions or discussion?
I have one question. So then, as far as the Alternative Learning Center graduation, would we do it the Friday of that weekend, or
It
we
would be
would
the
wait
same,
again?
it would be the
Okay.
same date. And
Okay, that's good.
That
That's
also allows, especially with our students who are working on credit recovery, to have that little bit of extra time
Okay,
to get in all
great.
the credits that they need for graduation.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, the motion passes. All right, moving on to personnel. Dr. Such.
Okay, we have to have the budget first so that we have the money to approve all of these.
Ryan's like, oh, that's good.
Because I am also standing in for Mr. Markle and then Mr. Bourne. But first, I am very excited that I get to introduce Mr. Ryan Towner as our recommended candidate for the position of Assistant Superintendent. So Mr. Towner recently completed a rigorous 3-round interview process that engaged a diverse and thoughtful team. This team included members of our board, building and district administrators, teaching staff, and a very important role of the assistant to the assistant superintendent. So at every stage, Ryan demonstrated exceptional leadership, capacity, deep instructional insight, and a collaborative spirit that resonated with the team. Ryan's professional background includes a wide array of experiences that have prepared him for this leadership role. Most recently, he served as the Director of Literacy in Title I at the Penn Harris Madison School District. Prior to that, Ryan was the principal of both Walt Disney Elementary and Madison Elementary, and earlier had served as assistant to the principal at Walt Disney. These roles have given him strong insight into both building and district level leadership and operations. Throughout the process, Ryan's commitment to public education and to Edwardsburg stood out. His desire to be an Eddie was sincere and compelling. His references consistently described him as a proactive problem solver, a strong mentor, and someone deeply committed to students and the educational profession. They emphasized his willingness to jump in and help wherever needed, and always placing student well-being at the center of his work. Ryan has been recognized with numerous honors throughout his career, including receiving the prestigious Millikan Educator Award, an accolade that highlights outstanding educators across the nation for their achievement and potential. In addition to his professional accomplishments, Ryan and his wife are residents of the Edwardsburg community. They have both a current and a future Eddie in the district, further affirming their investment in our schools. Ryan Towner holds both his bachelor and master's degree from IUSB. We are thrilled to welcome him to our administrative team and confident that he will be a tremendous asset to our district. So, welcome, Ryan. I would like to make a recommendation to the board to approve Ryan as our assistant superintendent.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of hiring Ryan, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, Ryan, welcome to the team. You're now an Eddie.
Oh, I love you. I prepared some short remarks. But Dr. Such, President Overmeyer, board members, thank you so much. What a joyful moment this is for me. You know, since living in Edwardsburg, you know, I these past years have very much thought how much I love to be a part of the Edwardsburg team. Kim and I, this is my wife, Kim. Kim is an Edwardsburg graduate. Her parents are as well. My children are third generation Eddies. You know, we moved to Edwardsburg because we knew it was an outstanding community to raise a family, and you know, we absolutely knew the exceptional schools, and we have found that to be just absolutely true. Our oldest, Corbin, is just finishing up at the primary building, and he's just been downright loved, and we have just appreciated the personalized attention, the depth of relationships. It's really been just awesome. And so, you know, Corbin moves on to Eagle Lake. Our youngest will be in kindergarten, and the principal already knows his name. And it's just, you know, Edwardsburg has so many strengths for us as parents that stood out. There's no doubt the commitment of the team. I love the interview process as I got to meet so many of them. And I just think, you know, you see the strategic plan. There's just such a thoughtful approach to leading the schools and to doing right by students. And I look forward to, you know, complementing that work and you know, bringing my experiences and collaborating with the team. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It is just the greatest professional joy to be here with you. I'm just deeply appreciative.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks a lot, Ryan. You definitely have some big shoes to fill with Carrie going to be leaving the district, that's for sure. And the thing is, she had to learn 30 catchphrases. You only have to learn one. So you got a lot easier job than she does, so that's great. All right. Moving on now to the building hires.
I'm still up for the high school. So I'm speaking on behalf of Mr. Ryan Markle, who is recommending the hiring of Miss Janet Larson for the high school special education position. Ms. Larson holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Liberal Studies and an Associate's degree in Early Childhood from Bethel College. She obtained a Transition to Teaching license from Bethel College and completed her special education licensure through Indiana University. Ms. Larson has spent the last 12 years teaching special education at the Penn Harris Madison Corporation. And so we are recommending Ms. Janet Larson for the special education position at the high school.
Okay. I think we're going to do all the building positions at one time.
Sounds good. So next at the high school, Mr. Ryan Markle is recommending the hiring of Miss Rebecca Horvath for the high school math position. Ms. Horvath holds a bachelor degree in mathematics and chemistry from Albion College. With over a decade of teaching experience, she joins us from the Penn Harris Madison School Corporation, where she taught high school mathematics. So I'm recommending the hiring of Miss Rebecca Horvath. Of course, as you see, there's a theme here. Our first three have been from another good school corporation. Next, Mr. Ryan Markle is recommending the hiring of Mrs. Brenda Tu for the high school guidance position. Mrs. Tu holds a Master's of Arts degree in counseling from Spring Arbor University and a Bachelor's of Science degree in psychology from York College. Mrs. Tu most recently served as a guidance counselor for Takansha Community Schools. And then do you want me to move on to the middle school since
Let's keep
I
it
believe
rolling,
Jimmy,
yes.
I think I am also doing that, right? Okay, that's what I was thinking. Just didn't want to step on any toes. So, Mr. Joshua Bourne is recommending the hiring of Mr. Douglas Tu. So this is a couple that we are hiring for the middle school health position. Mr. Tu holds a Bachelor of Science in Health Education from Western Michigan University. He also joins us from Takansha Community Schools, where he taught physical education and health, and also served as the AD there. So he wore many hats. So that is what I have from the high school and middle school.
Okay, and for Eagle Lake, Mr. Melander?
Well, good evening. Tonight I'm excited to recommend the hiring of Mrs. Brittany Marlowe to our halftime music teaching position. Mrs. Marlowe previously taught as a music teacher in the 23-24 school year. And also even more so to that, last year when we had a music teacher go on maternity leave, even though she had stepped away to be with family, she reached out to me personally saying, hey, it's really important to me that we have a qualified music teacher, so if you can't find anybody, I'd be more than happy to step in as maternity leave. And lo and behold, Mrs. Marlowe served a maternity leave for us last year. And as we had planned to move a winter concert into the spring for the full-time music teacher to do it, she adamantly said, no, we are not going to do that. We are going to carry on, and I'm going to put on a performance, and a performance she put on, and it was wonderful. So I am thrilled tonight to recommend to the board the hiring of Brittany Marlowe as our part-time music teacher at Eagle Lake.
Fantastic, thank you. And lastly, we have Ms. Spalding.
I am here and thrilled to announce that our kindergarten numbers are really good right now. So I am here to recommend the hiring of Miss Sarah Okonis for the primary kindergarten position. Miss Okonis holds a Bachelor of Science degree in elementary education with a concentration in kindergarten, as well as a master's degree in literacy education. She brings 17 years of teaching experience, most recently teaching as a kindergarten and first grade teacher in Elkhart. One exciting thing about her coming is she becomes an Eddie as her daughter Hazel enters kindergarten and becomes an Eddie as well. So, thank you.
All right, thank you all for those presentations. And do we have a motion to approve the personnel hires as recommended?
So moved. Support.
Okay, any questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Welcome to the Edwardsburg. Yes. Thank you very much for those. Let's see, do any of you have anything you'd like to add or say about your new position?
You don't have to.
You don't have to, no, no pressure. Especially after Ryan did that. All right, very good. Well, thank you very much. We're excited to have you on board. All right, moving on to the MASB Superintendent Evaluation Instrument. You know, I think that we already had a pretty good discussion about wanting to look at this, and I hope all of you did. Do we have a motion to accept the MASB evaluation tool as discussed at the last board meeting?
So moved. Support.
Okay, do we have any questions or discussion on this?
Have we scheduled a time for them to come in, or is that in the works?
I wanted to wait till approval, and then I will reach out to MASB tomorrow.
Perfect.
So if there's any dates in August that don't work for the board members, please send them to Cheryl or myself, and we can make sure that we get everybody here to be trained.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is anybody opposed? All right, we'll have a new instrument. That's great. All right, moving on to the approval of the superintendent's contract. Superintendent Dr. Such received a final evaluation rating of 2.65, giving her a final evaluation label as effective. I am recommending that her contract be extended by 1 year for a total of 3 years to 2027-2028, with an annual salary of $155,324 and insurance benefits. May I have a motion to move forward with the 2025-2026 contract for Dr. Such?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Do we have any questions or discussion on this?
I do. I looked at the contract, and it has her compensation package out for the next 3 years. We had not discussed that. That was not.
So if you look down below that, so that's a requirement now by the state that we have to do that. And if you look below that, it will say that it will mirror the teacher as long as it's an effective evaluation.
Okay.
Does that?
Yeah, we hadn't discussed that, and I was taken
Yeah, the
by
state has
surprise
changed where you have to put in the schedule now. So we have to do that.
Okay.
So,
It was a result of the ORS lawsuit that was settled after January 1st, that you have to have a salary schedule for superintendents in place. And the recommendation is always to mirror the teacher's salary schedule with that.
So those numbers could
change
based
Yes.
on contract.
Correct.
So that was just going with the 3% for the next 2 years, which is what our educator contracts are. The last year, when I talked to MASA, they just said, put it at 3%, but that could go down. It mirrors what the
Yeah,
the
that
teacher's
was
contract.
my concern after the budget talks, and I was like, how are we gonna?
Well, and also in all of our contracts, per board policy, we can't go below 15% fund balance. If that were ever to occur, if the state, did something terrible, all of the contracts would reopen back up.
Great. Any other questions or discussion on this?
I just have to say, great job in the last year. I mean, bond, all these things. I'm excited for the next year too. So, yeah, it was just a really good job.
Thank you.
Handled some, pretty unusual things with tornadoes and fires and.
I've learned to stop joking with our awesome admin team because I'd said, well, what's next? A plague of locusts. And they said, please don't.
Yeah,
Just
stop.
let's not jinx
Seriously.
ourselves. So definitely couldn't do it without the team I get to come and work with every day. They are phenomenal.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay. Hearing nothing else, this is a roll call vote. Justin?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yes.
Natalie?
Yes.
Myself, yes. All right, congratulations, that is passed, and, I think on behalf of the school board and our entire school community, we want to really extend our sincere thank you and appreciation for everything you've done, and how much you've changed. I think some of the culture things and things you're doing in this district, I think it means the world to us, and how hard you've worked has really shown, so thank you so much for everything you've done.
Well, thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have anything they would like to add? Okay. Moving on to bond projects. Change order for the middle school and high school technology scope has been presented to the board for approval, as this change is above the 50,000 threshold. Does it?
So this was a little bit last minute, but we want to stay on track with moving forward. I know our principals have been super excited to see their office areas get destroyed and taken down to nothing. But in doing so, sometimes you find things that you didn't necessarily know were there or not there. So at the middle school and high school, there were a few things that hadn't been laid out in the original bid that need to be addressed, which is where this came from. And so when Tower, Pinkster, and Skillman reached out to say, could we possibly get this on the board tonight, just so we don't have any possible hiccup in our timelines? That's why I'm bringing it to you versus being able to run it through our finance subcommittee first and then bring to the board. So that's why the last minute change.
Do we have a motion to approve as recommended?
So moved.
Support.
Are there any questions or discussion on this?
What does this do to our big picture? This is significant.
So in terms of our bond, there's also some other change orders that are reducing things. For example, at the middle school, we were able to not move a door, which saved a substantial chunk of money in one of the new special education classrooms. So it's kind of still that moving target, with really the one that's over budget at the moment the most, and we'll know for sure once the bid opening on the 24th occurs for the new traffic loop. That one is a more substantial amount, but what we're doing is looking at one area we're looking at is, can we move up the bond sale for the second series, which, just given the market, we're looking at, is it better to do it now or keep it where it is? A few other districts have found that it was better to move it up financially. So then we could look at, yes, we have that money in that second series. Some of the things that we're not able to get to in the first series, we can bump to the second. And then just looking at, what things are most critical, like what is our infrastructure, for example, with the growing numbers in kindergarten, we're needing to look at moving our early childhood classes, so making sure we can get the church up and ready for those preschool classrooms to be there to free up the space in our elementaries. So just looking at how can we move money around, save money. One way we were able to save money with this series was some of the roofing work for the second series. We moved to this series because when you did it in the whole mass, it saved money. So then that's saving us money from the second series. So right now, yes, this is a little over budget, but it's still it's still very fluid. So I think we'll have an even better number once we get the bid opening on the 24th to see really where we are with Series 1, and then I'll share that out with the board. But good question, because yes, it is a little bit more, but this part has to be done.
Any other questions?
I just have one question. It's a little bit off topic, but I just thought of it kind of when we were talking about the early education. Where do we put the wrestlers now? That I know they were using that facility. Do we have a?
Yeah, so is and part of our budget was included the lift for the mats to be in our gym at the high school. So then that allows the mats to be moved back and forth, and then the gym to be used for that.
Okay. I didn't know if I missed it, so I thought I'd better ask. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay. Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, moving on to reports. Oops. I think, right?
Yep, so I'm not going to have much of a report, given that we had a lot covered in this meeting. I just want to welcome all of our new hires. I'm excited for the caliber of candidate that we've had this year for all of our positions. We're getting a ton of staff members that are coming with a lot of experience. It's going to be great for our kids. So we're excited with the quality of candidates that we've been getting, and we just have a few more positions to go, which is nice. Pending anything out of the ordinary occurring means we will be here fully staffed shortly, which will be a very nice thing to say. Other than that, just kudos to the track athletes. When I hear how fast they run, how high they jump, it just is very impressive to me, because I can't imagine that. But so that's all I'm going to say tonight, because I know it's been a rather lengthy meeting, and we're into June, so things have slowed down a little bit.
Do we have any subcommittee reports?
So I have an epic fail. We should have had a policy meeting tonight, and that was my fault, and poor Nick showed up for the meeting. I got caught up with everything that we had going on here with everything, so we'll just I'll get back in touch with the group, and we'll schedule for the next time. I know we were going to review the 1,000 level policies, so we'll get a meeting on the calendar for that.
And if there's any 1,000 policies that have board members have discovered they want to revisit, if you could just send those to Cheryl, then ahead of that meeting, I can make sure that the subcommittee then has copies of all of those to be able to review as well.
Yeah.
And sorry, Nick, text next time. I was waiting because I also
My
wasn't
fault.
sure, so I'll come let you in.
No worries. I was just like, it's a 5-minute drive back. And I can grab dinner then too, so.
We did have a buildings and finance subcommittee. I was so good, and I sent it the exact same day, but I sent it as a locked file. I don't even know how to lock a file. So by the time I realized that, it was pretty much what was in tonight. It was all of the finance updates. So I will still get it to you, but there really wasn't anything additional within that. But sorry about that.
Cheryl and I both tried. I tried for my Apple devices. I've never seen that before. But
I don't know. So if I resent it, and if you still can't, let me know, and I'll have to just move it to a different
Cut and paste
platform. And so sorry.
Okay, any other subcommittee reports? Okay, I think that'll do that. Now, moving on to comments from the audience. Do we have any audience members who would like to speak? Okay, not seeing anybody come up. We are now going to be going into a closed session. So we'll need to have a motion for that, correct? A motion to go into closed session?
I'll move to go into closed session.
Do you have support?
Support.
Okay, this is a roll call, is that right, Cheryl? Do I have to roll call to go into closed? Okay, roll call to go into closed session, Tammy?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Yes.
Natalie? Chelsea?
Yes.
And Nick. Okay. All right, so that passes. We'll now be going into closed session.
So I just need the admin related to the disciplinary hearing to stay. The rest of you are free to go.